Fabrice Muamba is still fighting for his life this morning. The incident that brought him there has shocked the football world.
It was a huge shock that obviously as a family we've never got over. It doesn't make any sense to me.
The main thing is that we just miss her so much, you know. In everything we do, you know, she's just not there.
You appreciate what you can, you know, it's just because you don't know. If you go to sleep, you don't know whether you're going to wake up.
It was so shocking to imagine that presence has gone from your house and your life.
Nina was born in 1982. She was very happy, very sporty child. She never had any health problems. She was apparently very fit and healthy.
Gareth was born in July 1985. By the time he was 18, he was almost 6 foot. He had beautiful red hair and blue eyes. Very nice looking guy. The last week before Gareth died, we saw him several times, and I can remember quite clearly looking at Sian and Gareth and thinking what beautiful children they were. And the next thing was 7:30 the following evening. We had the knock on the door, 2 policemen, and they told us that Gareth had been found dead, and that was the start of the nightmare, really.
Sudden death means without any previous symptoms or known conditions, and sudden death means that you have a healthy person who at one moment is active and doing what they normally would do, and at the and following that suddenly collapse and die.
Disbelief, absolute disbelief. If I'm absolutely honest, I still don't really believe it. I still think it's a mistake.
2 weeks after Nina's graduation, I came home at about midday, I suppose, or 12:30, lunchtime, and I said, "Where's Nina?" And everyone said, "Oh, she's probably still sleeping, you know." So I went upstairs because it was quite late, and I thought, really, she should be up by now. As soon as I walked into her bedroom and I looked at her, I knew she was dead. And there was nothing anyone could do. It was just too late. She'd possibly been dead for a few hours, actually.
Okay, there's arterial pressure for you. Thank you. We're ready to go. Let's advance. There are many conditions that cause sudden cardiac death in the young. The heart is a very vital organ in the body, and it is composed of a number of things. Sudden cardiac death can occur due to abnormalities or problems associated with any of these structures.
Gareth had always been fit and healthy. We think he may have had something called long QT syndrome. Some people die in their sleep. Some people die after running a marathon. They may just be sitting on the sofa and their heart stops. It's a very strange condition, but it can often be picked up on an ECG, which is why cardiac risk in the young does promote cardiac screening for young people.
A 12-lead ECG is a simple electrical tracing of the heart that provides very important information. It's not painful, doesn't involve any needles, and it takes about 3 or 4 minutes to perform. That has to be evaluated by an expert, and that printout can rapidly make diagnoses of certain conditions such as Wolff-Parkinson-White, long QT, raise the suspicion of other conditions such as the cardiomyopathies.
Let's go to PA cranial, please. And it's important to recognize this early because some versions of the long QT syndrome are very much treatable with either medications or pacemakers or other devices that might help prevent sudden death in young people.
12 young people every week are dying in the UK of sudden cardiac death. And I think one of the reasons that medical staff in particular are not aware that this figure is so high is because they don't look after them in hospital. Most of these young people die suddenly outside hospital, and rarely they make it into casualty, but very often they go straight to the mortuary, as with our son, Gareth.
But apparent efforts to resuscitate Fabrice Muamba are still ongoing from the medical staff. There didn't seem to be anyone close to Fabrice Muamba, or indeed any rational explanation for what has happened.
As I was running onto the pitch, once I got there, my focus was entirely on Fabrice. I wasn't aware that players had gathered around. I didn't know that Owen Cole, the gaffer, had come on. I didn't know that Howard Webb was there. And it wasn't until 35,000 voices united to start singing Fabrice Muamba's name that anything from the outside environment penetrated into that focus. I'm glad to confirm that the early signs of recovery have continued.
The heart problem was discovered on the 19th of December. I was a very lucky man. I don't think there's many around can appreciate how lucky I actually am. Me being one of them, you know.
I'm Chris, I'm 19, and yeah, I was diagnosed with a heart condition through crime, which was Wolff-Parkinson-White syndrome. It's funny, I didn't actually have any symptoms before. I didn't have anything until that point, any symptoms.
He would just be sat at the side of me and he'd start with palpitations and chest pains for no apparent reason.
I cannot remember that journey. I don't know why, I just cannot remember that journey. But I can remember coming in the house, leaning against the hob, wasn't it? Yeah. And just saying, look, I'm not very well. And I can remember, like, the sister-in-law sitting just there. And I can remember walking through the house, but I cannot remember, just like tunnel vision. I couldn't see any of my children, I couldn't see anything other than my wife. You know, I'm being told basically I collapsed there and then in front of Kelly and my kids. And luckily, as I say,
focused on diagnosing inherited cardiovascular conditions, on identifying individuals that are at risk of the conditions, on providing very vital information that an individual can execute to reduce their risk of sudden death, and of course on preventing any catastrophes in the future.
We went to a fundraiser yesterday, a young man. He lost his life, he was 17, and was it February of this year? You can see them look at Chris. He's been lucky, and yet we've lost our son. I mean, we could have been that family if he hadn't have been diagnosed. But we could have been there. We could have been in that same situation. Very lucky.
First year that Nina was at university, she basically woke up early in the morning and had a slight fit. She really didn't seem to be breathing, and it wasn't a big fit. Doctors in A&E didn't seem to be particularly concerned at the time. The whole episode was just described as an unexplained episode of unconsciousness.
Young people will go to their GP and say, oh, I faint a lot, and they just say, oh, well, you know, you're just growing. Or they say their heart's racing and they say, well, you've probably been overdoing it, so just take it a bit more easy or pace yourself. And I don't think they realise exactly what should be done next.
I have to say that while we should raise the awareness, and there should be educational programs for all, and it should reach out to every member of the population. We have to be careful not to create panic and upset in a lot of people by suggesting that every palpitation is leading to a cardiac problem, because a lot more people experience simple palpitations which have no major long-term impact, but within that group is a small number of people who will genuinely have cardiac conditions that need treatment.
What country is it? Is it Italy? I think it's compulsory in Italy that anybody involved in sport has to have an ECG. And I think they've lowered the death rate of young people by 90% from unexplained heart conditions because they're being picked up. I just don't know why they don't do it in our country.
One of the key problems with the diseases that cause sudden cardiac death in this young population is that the first symptom or the first presentation is sudden death. So early screening to identify these individuals is absolutely crucial, because what it does is it identifies these people early. It allows them to be treated in order to support these individuals with disease. It creates a much better quality of life, and importantly, it prolongs their life.
He was just a lovely son, and we always enjoyed, we used to go on holiday together, obviously, but he started making his own life. I think it's hard to describe life with and without. I just wish he was here.
The main thing is that we just miss her so much, you know. In everything we do, you know, she's just not there. And it's just such a gap, big hole in the family.